Hello, my name is Kurt, you're watching Anime Basic, and today I'm going to be showing you guys my Resident Evil collection, and that includes, well, everything Resident Evil I have in my collection. So without further ado, let's get into it. First up, we have the first game on the PlayStation 1. Then we have Resident Evil 2 on the PlayStation 1, and just, I guess, a warning, all my PS1 and PS2 copies are kinda gunky. I'm moving in a few days, so I don't have any time to clean them before this video, but yeah. I got this about 8 years ago, I think, for 40 bucks. I don't know how much it goes for now, but it's probably gone up in value. Then I've got Resident Evil 3 Nemesis on the PlayStation 1. Now this one hurts me. So I got this about 18 months ago. It only set me back 30 bucks, but you've probably noticed something about this. Yeah, whoever like sold this to Game Traders, I assume Game Traders didn't do this, but they just like straight up cut it to fit it into a normal CD jewel case, which is infuriating, but I did get this for like super cheap. I will pick up a better copy at some point in the future, but you know, not right now. Then we have Resident Evil Survivor. I think I paid about $120 Australian for this. It's in pretty decent nick. Definitely a lot better than my copy of Resident Evil 3, but this is probably one of the rarer items in my collection. Then we have Resident Evil 4. This is actually my original PS2 copy that I got pre-owned for about 10 bucks, I think in like 2008. So about 3 or 4 years after the game came out. And yeah, when I got it, it was in perfect nick. It was pre-owned and it was only $10. But yeah, I have played the absolute shit out of this game, and I own it on every platform that I have a console. Then we have Resident Evil Code Veronica X on the PS2. This was my first Resident Evil game. Then we have Resident Evil Dead Aim on PlayStation 2. This was an X rental. You can see Blockbuster Broadway when, you know, Blockbuster was a thing. This is the only light gun Resident Evil game I've played, and I didn't even play it with a light gun. I played it with the weird PS2 controls. Then we have Resident Evil Survivor 2, Code Veronica. I think this is probably also one of the rarer games in my Resident Evil game collection. Like, the eBay listing price for this is a lot higher than like anything else on PlayStation 2 for Resident Evil. And then we have Resident Evil Outbreak and Resident Evil Outbreak File 2. I never played these online just because I never had internet connected to my PlayStation 2. I enjoyed these a fair amount, not as much as like other PlayStation 2 Resident Evil games. But what I find interesting is when I googled these, like not long after I bought them, the consensus seemed to be pretty negative around these. But now whenever Capcom teases a new Resident Evil project, I see like so many people requesting a Resident Evil Outbreak like remake or like reboot. So I guess those people were just hiding when I initially googled about these games. Moving on to the PlayStation 3, we've got the Biohazard Revival Selection. So as you can see, imported from Japan. So this has the Resident Evil 4 HD and Resident Evil Code Veronica X HD copies on PlayStation 3. Then we have Resident Evil Remake, once again imported from Japan. Pretty decent condition, as if you've gotten anything imported from Japan, their pre-owned stuff is in really good nick. Then we have Resident Evil 5 Gold Edition on PlayStation 3, Resident Evil 6 on PlayStation 3, Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City. This was a very bad game, but you know, it's better than some other entries in the franchise. Then we have Resident Evil Revelations on the PlayStation 3, Resident Evil Revelations 2, and then moving on to the PlayStation 4, we have the Resident Evil Origins Collection, which has Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil Remake. Then we have the Resident Evil 2 Remake. This is my second favorite game in the franchise, followed by Resident Evil Village, and then my first favorite is Resident Evil 4, so I like my Leon. Then we have Resident Evil 3 Remake, Resident Evil 4 on PlayStation 4, Resident Evil 5 on PlayStation 4, Resident Evil 6, Resident Evil 7 with a special slipcase, which is not working properly with this lighting, but it's got its normal cover there as well. Then we have Resident Evil Revelations 1 on PlayStation 4, Revelations 2, and probably the most valuable thing in my Resident Evil collection, I have a sealed copy of Umbrella Corps. Now this this is going for like 175 to 200 on eBay right now, and when I bought it 18 months ago, I paid about 100, which I really didn't want to do, but I really wanted to finish my PlayStation 4 Resident Evil collection. And because I have this game on a couple of different platforms, I got it for like $2 on like PlayStation, $2 on Steam, and it's trash and I never actually want to play it again. That's why I kept this sealed, and it's gone up in value tremendously since I bought it, so I'm glad I bit the bullet on that one. Then we have Resident Evil Village on PlayStation 5. I love this game. Like I said, it's my third favorite Resident Evil game, and I love it. I have it on PlayStation 5, I have it on Steam, and I'll probably buy a PS4 copy, to be honest, just to complete my PS4 Resident Evil collection. Continuing with the games, we have Resident Evil Revelations 1 on 3DS, Resident Evil Mercenaries 3D on 3DS, and then finally we have Resident Evil Deadly Silence on Nintendo DS, also known as Resident Evil DS or Resident Evil DS. Get it? If you didn't know, this is just it's not the remake of Resident Evil 1, but it's like a port of the first Resident Evil game, like the original PlayStation version, but they slapped it on Nintendo DS, and they don't have it anywhere here, but it has like added mini games on the touchscreen, and you can also do certain puzzles with the touchscreen. It's fine, but you're definitely better off playing any other version of the first Resident Evil game unless you really wanted it portable. Speaking of portable Resident Evil, we have Resident Evil Origins Collection on Switch, which has Resident Evil 0 and the actual remake of Resident Evil 1 on Switch. So now if you want it portable, you don't have to play the DS version, you can play the actual remake on your Switch. Then we have the Resident Evil Revelations Collection on Switch. And then finally for the games, we have the Resident Evil Triple Pack on Switch, which is just Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 5, and Resident Evil 6, but only Resident Evil 4 is on the cartridge for that one. And now I'll show you my movies. So we have the first Resident Evil movie on 4K. By the way, I have owned all of these on DVD and Blu-ray, but I've recently upgraded to the 4K. There's no point showing you all the different versions on DVD and Blu-ray though. So we have the first Resident Evil movie on 4K. Then we have Resident Evil Apocalypse on 4K, Resident Evil Extinction, Resident Evil Afterlife, Resident Evil Retribution, and Resident Evil The Final Chapter on 4K. Now I said I wouldn't show my DVD or Blu-ray copies, but I figured Resident Evil Apocalypse on UMD was just unique enough to be shown as well. And then for the animated movies, we have Resident Evil Degeneration, Resident Evil Damnation, and then finally we have Resident Evil Vendetta. So I know in the US, the Netflix series Resident Evil Infinite Darkness has gotten a DVD and Blu-ray release. We haven't gotten one in Australia just yet. I do want one to finish my collection, but I'm not too fussed on how quickly we get it. Just because I haven't even finished it on Netflix, even though it's only 4 episodes, because what I watched was pretty bad. Now next up, I'm going to show you something pretty cool. My Resident Evil vinyl. So I've only got 4 of them, which isn't even like half of what they've released, but this is my vinyl copy, sealed still, of Resident Evil 0. And then my vinyl copy of the Resident Evil Remake soundtrack. Also sealed. They're all sealed, by the way. then my vinyl copy of the Resident Evil 2 soundtrack, and this is the original game soundtrack, by the way, but I think a couple months ago they did do a pressing of the Resident Evil 2 remake soundtrack. I think this is a double LP, but the remake soundtrack was like a 4 LP, I think. And then finally, I have my Resident Evil Code Veronica X sealed vinyl. So there you have it. That was my Resident Evil collection, both in games and films and even vinyl. I do want to collect the rest of the vinyl soundtracks, and there's a couple of PlayStation 3 Resident Evil games I'm missing physically that I do want to collect, but right now I think I have a pretty decent Resident Evil collection. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Kurt, you've been watching Anime Basic, and I will catch you guys in the next video. See ya.